One of the other signs that, there's a little bit of fraying even within the regime, Saagar, is the way that a couple of the oligarchs have responded.
Yeah, so let's get to this. This is incredibly important. This is going to be the watch. I've been reading over the weekend, trying to look at how internal criminology itself has always been a study and a discipline in Washington. At that time, during the Soviet Union, it was to try to figure out the warring factions within the Politburo. Modern Russia is a little bit different. So you have Putin obviously surrounded by sycophants within the government, but you have an independent economic entity which is intertwined with the state and subjugated to it, but also incredibly powerful. That's the oligarch class. Oligarch class has an immense amount of interest and power. They have now amassed hundreds of billions of dollars personally. Some of it they owe to Putin, but some of it they've amassed on their own, and they are not happy about what's happening here. So this is something I'm watching very closely. If there is any movement against Putin within the Russian state, it is completely dead unless these people are on board. So let's put this up there on the screen. The billionaire Mikhail Friedman has called the war in Ukraine, quote, a tragedy, and has called on bloodshed to end. So the key thing is that Friedman is from Lvov in Western Ukraine, and his parents live there. He's the very first oligarch to go ahead and speak out. But he's not the only one. We saw already that there are major costs that are being incurred by many Russian oligarchs. Abramovich has had to basically divest himself of his stake in Chelsea. Many of their yachts have been seized. Many of their planes are now no longer able to fly in all of Europe, where they own an immense amount of property. A lot of their kids live here. I don't know if anyone's been to Williamsburg, but basically half of Williamsburg, Brooklyn is owned by these Russian oligarchs.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, all these high-rise towers on the water and stuff. You'd be surprised if you hear English being spoken in those buildings. All these penthouses. What's that disgusting building in the middle of New York? The Time Warner Center.
They call it the new one is called the balance sheet that has all the architectural, because it's so ugly. It just goes straight up.
Yeah, it's a straight up one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is like half owned by Russia and China.
Don't work.
And another one that caught my eye just this morning, I don't have time to go into it, or to make an element. Oleg Deripaska, the aluminum baron, also somebody who was intertwined with Steele dossier and all of that.
Yeah.
He said this morning, quote, a hiked rate, the mandatory sale of foreign currency, this is the first test of who will be responsible for this banquet. Quote, I really want clarifications and intelligible comments on the economic policy of the next 3 months. Not happy, Mr. Deripaska, in terms of his aluminum empire there and how it's going to be affected by this entire crisis. So, look, if we are to see any movement against Putin, it will come from the oligarch class. I do not want to get people's hopes up. That is not necessarily in the cards. These are just two men. There's hundreds of them. But they are suffering in terms of the financial sanctions from the West. Yes, the ordinary Russians have ATM pulls and all this, but if you want to know some of the people with the sketchiest finances on earth, it's Russian oligarchs. And these people have all sorts of collateralized debt and backstops and property that they have abroad. Panama Papers revealed quite a bit of this. This is significantly going to have an impact on their ability in order to do business and in order to have just a general lavish lifestyle. The second thing I want to point to is this, which is, I'll try to treat this as sensitively as we can, because again, I do not want to fan the flames of conspiracy theories. This could be a total deep state plot. But Marco Rubio, the senator from Florida, who is the ranking member on the Senate Intelligence Committee, has been putting out some very cryptic and strange insinuations that Putin is either ill or mentally ill. So let's put this up there on the screen. He tweeted this, quote, let me stress again, we are not dealing with 2008 Putin. It is a grave error to assume he will make the same calculations and decisions today that he would have made in the past. The old Putin was a cold-blooded but calculating killer. This new Putin is even more dangerous. So, insinuating, Krystal, that Putin is either ill or he is, of more of a paranoid mind. It's very difficult in order to try and suss out what exactly he's saying. I have asked around in terms of people who might know. None of them would tell me with a straight answer if the man is ill or not, which, I don't know, you read into that what you would like. some things that people have been pointing to, again, is Putin's clear obsession with not getting COVID.
Yeah.
At every single meeting, including this morning with his meeting of economic ministers, he's all the way at the far side of the table, and his ministers are crammed at the very end of the table. Whenever he met Macron, famously, he was all the way at the other side. You know, another thing which I noticed was, did you notice that, you know, that speech from his desk?
Yeah.
He was by himself.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a large setup with a press conference and reporters who are close by you. So the man is very clearly afraid of getting COVID. That could indicate he's sick and comorbidities. Once again, this is total speculation on my part. I also could be, like I said, playing into what the IC might want us to think, which is that, oh, Putin is ill. Maybe he's just a 69-year-old man who wants to secure his legacy. But if it is the case that he's ill, and this is not without precedent, Soviet Premier Brezhnev launched the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 when he was very ill. And there was a lot of questions at the time in the Politburo. Oh, is he, you know, of sound enough mind in order to make these things? So it's not without precedent in modern Russian history.
Yeah.
It's an interesting data point.
One of the other things that's been floated is that he was very isolated during COVID and really restricted who was able to come and see him, and that has just removed him enough from, you know, his being connected to his own population that it has caused him to make some serious strategic miscalculations, which I think, you know, anyone would have to acknowledge this has been so far a disaster for Russia. Again, acknowledging that they have a lot more military weaponry that they can certainly deploy. But the economic front is very clear. I mean, Russia is in dire straits economically. So there's been some speculation that that isolation, you know, maybe fed into a paranoia or even just disconnected him from the realities on the ground and what public sentiment would be, and even what sentiment is within his own sort of circles and what the oligarchs might think and all of that. And one thing we can say for sure is he is getting older. He probably is thinking about his legacy, and you know, that can again create a dangerous situation here. And this, I think, is maybe of everything we're going to bring you this morning, this next piece, Saagar, is the most significant, at least if you care about life continuing to exist
Life on Earth.
On the planet, which is the whole reason that this crisis, why we have focused on it so intently, is because Russia is a nuclear superpower. And when you have two nuclear superpowers at odds with each other, that is an extraordinarily dangerous situation.
That's right.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.